Hey guys, I'm Pacey with Pride Radio. Just talking to two amazing people that actually made a wonderful movie, Growing Up Coy. And this is Eric, the director. This is Jeremy, the producer slash editor. So go ahead and give me just a quick background of the movie, what it's about.
So, Growing Up Coy is about a 6-year-old transgender girl. Her family is in Colorado, in southern Colorado, and she was banned from using the girls' bathroom at her elementary school. Her parents decided to file a civil rights complaint against the school, and it launched into a case that they eventually won her right to use the girls' bathroom, which was great.
So was this recently or was this kind of a while ago?
This it all started in 2012, at the end of 2012. The complaint was filed in early 2013, and then it took about a year and a half for everything to come to a conclusion.
Okay, so the kid is Coy. The name.
Yep.
Her name is Coy. I know, and I love the title, by the way, Growing Up Coy. It's brilliant to me. So how did you guys get involved in making this film?
Well, we met the Mathis family through their lawyer, who's based in New York, and we're based in New York as well. And he told us about the Mathis family, Michael Silverman at Transgender Legal Defense. And the thing that was really exciting to us about a 6-year-old transgender girl is that this is really the first generation of parents that are allowing their transgender kids to express themselves openly. That's something that I think neither of us had seen before, and it was something that was really exciting to us to be on the forefront of documenting.
So do you feel like it's kind of what do you think brought this on, like this being the first generation of parents that is allowing their children to express themselves?
I think that there's, the 20 years of LGBT rights, the movement has really, been going on for such a long time. And, these millennials, the parents are, when we were filming, were both under 30. So, they really grew up in this, protracted kind of, world where LGBT rights was a thing, and so they grew up in that, and they decided to allow their child to express her gender as she was experiencing it.
So speaking of LGBT rights, this is not the first LGBT kind of based movie that you guys have made, right?
No, we made a film. Yeah, we made a film a couple of years ago that was at Frameline here in San Francisco 2 years ago and aired on PBS World Channel, and that took place in Oklahoma and was about, broadly speaking, just a broader fight for LGBT rights, but also about HIV and the rise of HIV amongst young people in the heartland of America. So yeah, we did a whole tour with that film as well and brought it to a bunch of different states that were they were having these laws that were called "Don't Say Gay" laws, where they wouldn't allow anybody to speak about homosexuality in public education or sex education. So we used that film as like a launching pad to talk about that issue specifically. But yeah, so we've done work with LGBT films previously.
And you guys are a married couple.
Yes, we are.
I love. And off the cuff here, how difficult is it to work with your husband? That question is to both of you.
Yeah.
It's difficult at times, but I think we really benefit from having a partner who can be completely honest about when something's working and not working, and we have been able to work through every disagreement so far.
Yeah. I mean, it can be like the other side of it is like when you're like really passionate about something and, creatively passionate, like we have, arguments that, I think make our relationship stronger, and we're talking about the film and we're talking about other aspects of our relationship too. It kind of bleeds over sometimes. That part's tricky.
Right.
But but it's really overall, it's a very rewarding thing to be working towards a common goal. And especially like Eric alluded to it earlier, just the fact that it's such a really interesting time to be documenting these stories that are on the forefront of the most significant civil rights issue of our time, and being gay guys, it's an exciting thing to participate in and really see it from like you said, the front lines. It's really like being right there as it's unfolding. This particular film, Growing Up Coy, this was a landmark transgender case. We didn't know that it was going to turn into like a landmark case and be like historical, but it turned out to be. And just being there witnessing that from the get-go was like incredibly exciting, you know, I think.
I love that.
Yeah.
So going back to the movie Growing Up Coy, where if say a random public person is watching this and they want to see the movie, where will they be able to see it? Do you know?
We don't know yet. We just had our world premiere last week at the Human Rights Watch Film Festival in New York, and tomorrow we're going to be at the Frameline Film Festival in San Francisco. Tomorrow being Saturday, 11 a.m. at the Castro Theater.
I love that, the historic Castro Theater. That's the perfect place, I feel like.
Yeah, we're excited about that. And then after that, what we really are hoping is that we're able to raise the funds to bring the film on a tour.
Similar to the last one that we did with our last film.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And specifically target states that, there are 13 states right now that are suing the U.S. government for the Obama administration for their stance on transgender bathroom use. And so we specifically want to bring the film into those states to educate lawmakers and school communities about who it is we're really talking about. And I think that that's one of my hopes, both of our hopes of what the film can do is that when you really get to spend an hour and a half with Coy and with her family, you really, I think, can just see that this is just a little girl like any other girl who wants to use the bathroom with all the other little girls at her school.
So when you do these kind of tours, is it open to the public or is it...
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they would be open to the public. I mean, the thing that differentiates a community screening tour from like going to a regular movie is that, we would have discussions afterwards and be able to actually open up a dialogue about the movie and about the issues that it brings up so that we can hear from other points of view and provide resources. And
yeah, oftentimes we would have experts on hand to talk about the issue specifically, and educate people and really have this ongoing dialogue.
Exactly.
So how long did it take you guys essentially to make and create and have the final product of this film?
3.5 years.
Yeah. We started December 2012 and we finished 2 weeks ago. So
Hot off the presses.
Yes.
Yeah.
How many, I'm not sure, like how emotional of an experience was it creating this film? I can only imagine it was.
Extremely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and also the synergy of it has been very interesting. The fact that, when we started, transgender bathroom use was not a topic that people were educated about or had any knowledge about. And then, over the course of making the film, there's the whole world of transgender has become this like buzzword in the mainstream American media and worldwide really ever since Caitlyn Jenner came out. It's just it's really kind of mushroomed. And then when all this stuff happened with transgender bathroom use, in the past 3 months, the synergy of that and this being one of the first landmark cases has been remarkable. So that's been an incredible thing to watch, just how, as we're finishing this film, this issue has really, just become so big.
So, and I don't want to get overly political about it, but, you did reference Caitlyn Jenner.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, when Caitlyn Jenner first started this entire process, my, personal opinion was, first of all, even though I consider myself part of the LGBT community, the T part in that, for me, I was very uneducated in. I really had no knowledge in it at all. So you have people like, Caitlyn Jenner, which I feel like a lot of the community is actually backlashing on her for. But at the same time, how you just mentioned Caitlyn Jenner just going through this transition in the media, a lot of people are saying, well, she's doing it for money. But at the same time, she really put a spotlight on this exact issue.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what are your guys' opinions on that? Do you think it was a good move that Caitlyn kind of blew this up in the media as much as she possibly could?
I do ultimately. I mean, that's my personal opinion. I think, I understand that she is not necessarily like the perfect spokesperson for the entire community, and I respect people's opinions about that
Right.
very much. But I think that it's undeniable that the fact that she came out changed the way that many people saw this. I think that in our film there is the attorney in the film who was responsible for taking the case public, Michael Silverman from the Transgender Legal Defense and Education Fund. He talked about the fact that many people don't even ever know a trans person. Many people don't, within the LGBT community, many people don't know a trans person.
Right.
So I think just the exposure and the fact that, the big picture of it is that it moved this conversation a little bit more into the mainstream. And I think that that is not necessarily a bad thing, you know what I mean, in the big picture of it.
And I don't know if there is any one person who can represent an entire community either. I think all of us in the LGBT community are individuals and different, and some of us are Democrats and some are Republicans and some are independents, and that doesn't define who we are as an LGBT group.
Right. And I actually completely agree with that because, to be honest, even through any of the when being gay was started to become a little bit more accepted, a lot of people were looking at people like, for example, I don't mean to throw them out there, but like Perez Hilton and people like that, where they weren't exactly the most, politically correct
Absolutely.
or best representation. But I feel like people like that just being out there kind of raises the issue still, I think for me personally, and I forget where I heard this, and it has to, it can relate to transgender as well, where I don't think a lot of people realize that they actually do know someone.
That's true too. But also, the other thing about our film, like one of the main things that I want people to take away from it is that if you stay in the closet with any, sexual identity issue or gender identity issue, like, you don't get rights. You can't get rights unless you come out of the closet and you take a risk. And there is a parallel on some level between somebody like Caitlyn Jenner and, the Mathis family in our documentary, who are really putting themselves out there, and they're doing it publicly, and nothing changes unless you put yourself out there publicly. Now, when you do that, and this is really the crux of what our film is about, when you do that, you can, a lot of people get upset. It's a very controversial issue. It ignites a lot of debate. Not everyone's going to be happy from any side of the situation, and especially in today's world where there's, this kind of internet trolling going on constantly. Putting yourself out there is a real risk. And so I think, for me, the thing to take away from anybody who is putting themselves out there is that you have to have incredible respect for somebody who's doing something like that. Because I try to think of the LGBT community, it's all of us. Even though trans rights are a separate thing completely, like, I still see people like the Mathises putting themselves out there as fighting for all of our rights collectively. And I think that we, as like gay white dudes, need to also like say, okay, well, we have the privilege of being who we are, and we need to stand up and fight for our transgender brothers and sisters.
Absolutely. And you did bring it back up. I was gonna say, when you were talking about when you stay in the closet, you don't get the rights. I mean, it is easier said than done, which I'm
Yeah.
sure all of us completely understand that it is much easier said than done. But going back to you're totally right. We do, especially as gay men, we do definitely have a lot more acceptance than I feel like the trans community does at this point. I did want to also ask though, and I'm not sure how this is actually a question I've kind of always had, because I'm always trying to gain more knowledge, because it is like I said, the trans community is one that I don't fully understand yet. Complete respect for, absolutely. So when you have a child, and I'm sorry, how old was
She was
Chloe?
6.
She was 6 when
She
we
was
started.
6.
Yep.
So how do you know whether it's a phase that the child is going through or whether she really is trans?
Well, our experience was that with Coy specifically was that she was presenting and expressing, a gender identity as a female from the time that she was like 18 months on, and she never wavered from that identification. And when early on, when the family was trying to say, no, why don't you wear some boys' clothes and go out as a boy, she experienced a lot of anxiety, and she didn't want to go outside. And these were stories that they told to us, afterwards, when we came onto the scene and started talking to them about it. And her right to use the bathroom was called into question. But I think if your child is consistently, attempting to present their gender as the opposite gender, or has persistent confusion about it, then that's a sign that they indeed could be transgender. But it is a spectrum though as well. I mean, we learned that as well.
And we talked to therapists too who said that gender can be fluid at that age or at a very young age. So the thing about when you have kids who are that age, they didn't do anything physically to change her body at that age. The family was never talking about surgery or anything like that. It was simply a decision to let her express herself as she was. And if that changed at any point, the family would have been, allowed her to present herself as a boy. So it wasn't anything that the family was pressuring Coy to do. It was how she wanted to express herself at that time.
She was
and
leading
could
the
have changed.
discussion.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. So is there anything else you guys want to talk about in regards to the movie Growing Up Coy? Is there anything else you want to tell the people about, specifically anything?
I mean, I feel like we really, said what we our real core belief about this film, which is, it really just tells the story, one family's story of fighting for their child's civil rights. And the biggest takeaway for me is just that it ain't easy.
Right. Right.
Like, no matter what, if you're gonna stand up for yourself, there's gonna be some fallout. But I think that, it's a risk, and I think, I always praise this family for doing it, because I think it's just an incredible thing to witness them.
Absolutely.
Right. And I would just reiterate too that we really do hope that this film gets wider release and can be seen by as many lawmakers, school communities, parents as possible, because I think that it really has the potential to change hearts and minds around this issue.
Yeah, and I really do I have a great respect, because it takes a lot of time, effort, and I'm sure money to put this kind of stuff together. And it's probably one of the most selfless things you could really do, which is amazing. I have a high respect for you guys. Any more information, if someone wanted more information on the movie, or really just anything in general, what's the best place for them to go?
We have a website, growingupcoy.com. On that website, you can join the mailing list, and we can keep everyone who signs up there updated on future screenings and how they can eventually see the film.
And if they are parents that, for example, feel like they may have a transgender child, is information like that there as well?
Yeah, absolutely, it will be. But just off the bat, if you do feel like your child might be transgender, there's a great organization called TIFA. I forget what the acronym stands for, but it's TIFA.org.
Is it T-I?
TYFA, Trans Youth Family Allies. Trans Youth
There you
Family
go.
Allies. That's what it is.
.org.
Yeah, .org. That's a great resource. And then, the organization that we profiled in the film, the Transgender Legal Defense and Education Fund, if you go to tldef.org, they have a lot of information for people who are dealing with this issue. Both legal and otherwise, links to other potential helpful websites and stuff like that.
Perfect. So, Eric, Jeremy, thank you so much for stopping by.
Yeah.
Again, the website is
growingupcoy.com.
Perfect.
And and also, you could always go to our Facebook page.
It's Facebook/growingupcoy.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much for stopping by and talking about the film.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'm Pacey with Pride Radio. Thank you so much for watching.
Cool.
Awesome. Thanks. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sorry if that was way too long.
No.
No.
We were like, keep it brief.